The gay actress from old Hollywood is named by Nancy Kulp. It was a secret date. Nancy Kulp was born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania on August 28, 1921. Her full name is Nancy Jane Kulp. She was very interested in books and politics from a very young age. These are traits that would later shape both her work and her personal identity. When she was a child, her family moved to Miami, Florida. Her next stop was Florida State College for Women, which is now Florida State University. There she majored in writing. She graduated with degrees in both English and French. Her love of language and stories would later show in the smart, witty roles she played on screen. Kulp's desire to learn didn't end when she finished college. After that, she went to the University of Miami and got a master's degree in both English and French. At a time when many women didn't go to college, these academic accomplishments, which were rare, showed how driven and smart she was. Her smart, measured voice and well-mannered behavior came naturally to her from her academic background. They made her a natural choice for the smart, sassy parts she would play on screen. Nancy Kulp stopped going to school to serve her country during World War II. She joined the U.S. Naval Reserve as a lieutenant junior grade, and is part of WAVES, which stands for Women Accepted for Volunteer Emergency Service. Not only did this show how patriotic and dedicated she was, but it also made her one of the few women in Hollywood at the time who had served in the military. Kulp's time in the Navy made her even more of a person, and fans and peers will always respect her for it. She was a pioneer in a time when most people in the military were men, and she was proud of her service her whole life. Nancy Kulp started working in show business in the early 1950s. At first she did public relations work at a movie studio before switching to acting. Her striking looks, tall and angular, with expressive features and a voice that could not be missed, made her stand out right away. Soon she got a few small but remembered parts in movies like Shane, 1953, and A Star is Born, 1954. She was very good at adding warmth and depth to every part, even though she usually played smart and strange supporting characters. Her big break came when she was cast as Miss Jane Hathaway in the Beverly Hillbillies. Miss Hathaway is Milburn Drysdale's loyal and tense servant. From 1962 to 1971, the show ran and became a big deal in pop culture. Kulp's performance as Miss Hathaway was a lesson in how to be funny without going over the top. Fans loved her because she had a hidden crush on Jethro Bodine and got annoyed with the Clampetts' country ways. Kulp was nominated for an Emmy for her performance in 1967, which made her a well-known face on American TV. Besides the Beverly Hillbillies, Kulp was in a lot of other TV shows like The Lucy Show, Petticoat Junction, Sanford and Son, and The Love Boat. In later years, she taught acting classes and also did theater work. She worked hard at her craft and was happy to teach other people who wanted to be actors, which showed how much she loved the performing arts. Nancy Kulp quit Hollywood in the 1980s to run for public office. It was a brave move that showed how much she cared about helping people. She ran for the U.S. House of Representatives as a Democrat in 1984, in the 9th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. In her campaign, she talked a lot about education, the environment, and the well-being of the public. Even though she lost to the Republican leader, it was a historic race. At the time, she was one of the few Hollywood actors, especially a woman, who took politics seriously. Her campaign wasn't driven by fame, but by strong beliefs. Claire Kulp and Charles Malcolm Dacus got married in Dade County, Florida on April 1, 1951. Their marriage, which began when she was just starting out in TV and movies, was a more private time in her life that was mostly hidden from the public eye. Dacus wasn't in the entertainment business, and the pair stayed out of the public eye while they were married. But as Kulp's acting career took off, especially with her growing number of TV roles in the 1950s, the stresses of show business and their own personal differences finally made the relationship fail. In 1961, after 10 years of marriage, they split up. Kulp never got married again. She spent the rest of her life as a single woman, focusing on her job, her education, and later her community and charity work. Once Kulp retired from acting, which had been her job for decades, and included her beloved part as Miss Jane Hathaway on the Beverly Hillbillies, she chose to stay away from the Hollywood scene. She moved to a quiet farm in Connecticut at first, enjoying a life away from the sound stages and cameras in the country. This time in her life marked a shift toward a more personal and community-focused way of life. Kulp found comfort in nature and the simple rhythms of country life on the farm. When she went to the country, she was able to get back to things she had put on hold while she was busy as an actress, like reading, writing, and spending time with loved ones, especially animals. Kulp finally decided to leave the East Coast and move to Palm Springs, California. This city is famous for its peaceful beauty, artsy community, and mild weather. It was there that she fully jumped into a new life of service and purpose. When she moved to Palm Springs, she got involved with a lot of local charities, giving her time, energy, and name to causes that were important to her. One of the most well-known was the Humane Society of the Desert, where Kulp's lifelong love for animals led to endless hours of lobbying work. She helped by raising money and spreading the word about adoption and spay-neuter campaigns, which made the lives of many pets and stray animals in the area better. Being a part of the Desert Theater League gave her another way to express her love of the arts, a group in the Palm Springs area that helps local theater productions and artists. As someone who had honed her craft over many years in both comedic and dramatic roles, Kulp was a natural teacher for aspiring actors. She often shared her knowledge and experience with younger performers, directed community theater shows, and worked to make the local arts scene more well-known. Her efforts were greatly valued by both other artists and viewers. She left a lasting legacy as both a TV icon and a generous supporter of the performing arts. Kulp worked with animals and in theater, but she was also a strong supporter of people with disabilities. United Cerebral Palsy is a national group that helps people with cerebral palsy and other developmental disorders live fuller, more independent lives. She worked closely with them. As part of her work, she spoke in public, raised money, and brought attention to the problems that people with intellectual and physical disabilities face. Kulp's support for the cause was sincere and friendly, and she used her fame to give people who don't usually get a voice a chance to be heard. Not only was Nancy Kulp a talented actress, but she also lived a private life that was full of secrets and complexities, especially when it came to her personal relationships. She was best known for her role as Miss Jane Hathaway on the classic TV show The Beverly Hillbillies. During Hollywood's golden age, actors and women were under a lot of pressure to follow strict social rules, especially when it came to sexuality. Like many other people her age, Nancy Kulp had to deal with a world that wasn't always friendly to people who didn't fit the usual stereotypes. She is said to have dated several actors from the old Hollywood scene in secret over the years. She kept these relationships a secret because being gay was seen as a bad thing at the time. Tallulah Bankhead, a beautiful and charismatic star known for her work on Broadway and in movies, as well as her outlandish personality and rumored relationships with women, is one of the actors Nancy Kulp is said to have dated. One of the few famous people in Hollywood who lived more easily in her truth was Bankhead, though she still kept it to herself. The two men, Kulp and Bankhead, were said to have been in a serious secret relationship that started in the exclusive gay underground of old Hollywood. Marlene Dietrich, the famous German-American actress and singer who became famous for her style that blurred the lines between genders and was said to be bisexual, is another name that is often linked to Nancy Kulp in this context. Dietrich was famous for her seductive beauty and refusal to conform to traditional gender roles. She often performed in men's clothes and lived her personal life with a fluid sexual identity. It is thought that Kulp and Dietrich spent some time together and may have been more than that. They may have been part of a group of actors who found comfort and understanding in each other amid the stresses of the business. There are rumors about Nancy Kulp's private life that sometimes bring up Joan Crawford, another famous actress from the golden age of Hollywood. People have been guessing and speculating about Crawford's sexuality for decades. However, some historians and insiders say that she had relationships with women during her career, keeping her public image in check while also fulfilling her own needs. Nancy Kulp, who was smart and friendly, may have met Crawford in Hollywood's hidden social circles and become close with her, going beyond friendship. One of the most shocking things to come out about Nancy Kulp's later years was that she had a secret relationship with Barbara Stanwyck, another actress from Hollywood's golden age. Stanwyck was a famously private film noir icon, known for her commanding screen presence and a string of roles in classics like Double Indemnity, Stella Dallas, and Sorry Wrong Number. Neither woman publicly confirmed the relationship during her lifetime, but Kulp is said to have told close friends and biographers that she had been romantically involved with Stanwyck in the late 1950s. Stanwyck, like Kulp, never got married again after her divorce from actor Robert Taylor in 1952, and people have been guessing her sexuality for decades. People who knew Kulp say that his relationship with Stanwyck was emotional, but also very limited by the social norms of the time. They met at events for their business and through friends they both had. They became friends because they were both smart and funny, and they both loved great books and movies. Even though they were under a lot of pressure to keep up appearances, the two are said to have taken short trips to Palm Springs and rural parts of Northern California to relax away from prying eyes, but they were always careful, both on set and in public, using coded language and carefully planned social interactions to hide how close they were. Kulp later quietly thought about how hard it had been to keep a deep personal connection in a time of such systemic intolerance. She was very politically aware and had a strong sense of what was right. In interviews, she didn't talk much about her personal life, but some of the things she said suggested that she had been emotionally reserved her whole life. At a late-life event at a women's college, Kulp said something very telling. "We may get by with half-truths and borrowed time, but the heart knows what it knows." A lot of people think this was a coded message about her relationship with Stanwyck or another woman from her past. It's important to remember that Kulp never publicly named Stanwyck, but some biographies and accounts written after her death, especially those that use private letters, unpublished interviews, and the memories of people close to her, have said that the relationship was one of the most important in her life. Some LGBTQ historians use this case as a powerful example of the secret networks of love and support that existed within the studio system. This is like a shadow history that went along with the shiny heteronormative stories that were shown on screen. Nancy Kulp helped bring attention to a group of actors who lived with great dignity while being severely limited by their jobs by telling her story, even if it was only after her death and through private channels. She did something quiet to show she didn't agree, and her story shows how strong love can be, even when it has to be kept secret. People today remember her not only as a great funny actress, but also as a trailblazer who helped make Hollywood more open and welcoming. During Hollywood's golden age, there was a real fear of being found out, and actors like Nancy Kulp had to carefully control their public personas to stay out of trouble. Because most people are conservative, and the studio system has tight control over stars' images, being publicly bisexual or lesbian could kill your career. There were rumors about Kulp's relationships, but they were kept secret. The history of LGBTQ people in old Hollywood was shrouded in secrecy and only talked about with close friends and family. Along with these well-known actors and performers, Nancy Kulp is thought to have had a group of less well-known lesbians who lived quietly together during a time when being out was dangerous and often ended a career. The women in this group lived together in secret and trusted each other very much. For Kulp, these ties were important because they gave her emotional support and company in a field that could be cold and lonely for people who didn't fit the usual mold. The story of Nancy Kulp shows how many women in Hollywood's golden age had secret pasts. The glitz and glamour of the movies hid the real lives of these women, but their bravery and quiet resistance helped pave the way for children and grandchildren. By talking about the actors Kulp dated behind their backs, we learn more about her life and the larger story of queer history in Hollywood, which is one of love, strength, and survival against all odds. Many people remember Nancy Kulp as the charming and funny Miss Jane Hathaway from the Beverly Hillbillies. However, she had a lot of health problems later in her life. She had been smoking cigarettes for a long time, which was bad for her health. When Kulp was told she had cancer in 1990, it was a terrible blow to her and everyone who knew her. Not many people knew what kind of cancer it was, but it was so bad that she started a strong course of chemotherapy in the hopes of beating the cancer. Due to its unpleasant side effects, chemotherapy did a lot of damage to her body and mind. But Kulp took on this challenge with the same grace and strength that made people love her as an actress. Even with treatment, by 1991, the cancer had spread beyond where it started, which means it was in a very advanced state. This change marked the end of a hard part of her life. She was 69 years old when she died on February 3, 1991. She was living in Palm Desert, California, at the time of her death. This city is known for its warm weather and quiet atmosphere, which was a comfortable place for her in her last days. There were plans made to honor her life and memory after she died. Her body was brought back to Pennsylvania where she was born, and she was buried in Westminster Presbyterian Cemetery in Mifflintown, a small town that was important to her. This graveyard is in the middle of Pennsylvania, is a peaceful spot where her family and friends can remember her life away from the spotlight. The fact that Nancy Kulp is buried there shows that she has returned to her roots and will be buried close to where her journey began. Nancy Kulp's reputation as an actress and a beloved TV star stayed strong even after she died, and while she was sick, many people still love her performance as Miss Hathaway on old TV shows, and her own fight with cancer serves as a reminder of the problems many people face. Her story shows how important it is to know about health issues, especially the harmful effects of smoking and how it can change your life. Even though she had a hard time, Kulp is remembered fondly for her contributions to entertainment and her lasting warmth.